Hey there, great to see you. I'm Jenny Kirk, welcoming you up here to Weir Yard, where today it's all hail the Mega Gronk. Now this is a locomotive I truly and honestly thought that we would never see ready to run. And that's actually why I went as far as to make my own out of two donor 08 locomotives and some 3D printed parts from NIU models. And we did a video on that here on the channel. And you need to know that I absolutely detest making locomotive and rolling stock kits and scratch building, so the fact that I took it on tells you everything you need to know about how much I thought that these weren't going to appear. Well, Bachmann said, here, hold my beer, and they have done just that. Out of the tooling suite for their all new tooled Class 08, the Class 13 has been born. Now, a few people out there are clamouring about how these had very limited geographical workings. They were designed for a very specific function at Tinsley Marshalling Yard in Sheffield, and other than works visits down to Doncaster, and I think one of them may have got as far as Swindon Works for scrapping, they really didn't go anywhere else. So these people sat there bathed in the glow of their computer monitor going, why have they wasted money making a model of this? It really is a niche model. All I say to you is, you, my friend, are fun police. So there's the door, use it. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, because I don't want your ass print on my door. The rest of us are going, this is the models that we didn't realise that we really needed on our layout. And boy, have Bachmann done a great job. The moment that it was announced, I placed my pre-order. I had my money down, putting it where my mouth was, because I knew that I needed the Class 13 in my fleet. There's two different versions that Bachmann are offering. We've got an affiliate link down below to both of those, available DCC ready, sound fitted and sound fitted deluxe. But do hurry, because these are selling really, really fast. Despite the naysayers who always focus in on the price tag and start whinging and moaning, actually the rest of us have gone, you know what, that's a great price for a model which I didn't think we'd ever see ready to run. Here.
Shut up and take my money!
They apparently are now sold out at Bachmann, and a good deal of the smaller model shops as well have sold out their allocations too. But hopefully there's still a few left at the affiliate link down below. But do hurry, they're not going to hang around, just like some of the versions of the 08 Shunter as well. People said the same thing about those, too expensive, they'll never sell at that, I'll wait for the fire sale. Well, sorry to disappoint you, there was no fire sale for them, and there certainly will not be a fire sale for these Class 13s. But is it any good? Is it worth the money? And if you're on the fence, is it really something that you should get off that fence, because fences are quite sharp and difficult and really uncomfortable to sit on, and get yourself down to your local model shop and get one bought? Well, today we're going to be taking a good close look at the Class 13 Master and Slave. Is it any good, and is it a worthy addition to your fleet? Well, come with me and let's find out together. As we go through this video, don't forget to hit that like button, consider sharing to social media, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. It's a great way, a free way to support the channel and help us keep making the videos that you want to see. Today's video comes in association with Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Visit train-o-matic.com and see what they've got suitable for you. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model 00 gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com and don't miss out on your latest loco.
When When Bachmann did their all-new tooled 08, it was rather cryptically suggested that they might be able to do a Class 13. And I actually thought that they were collectively just yanking all of our chains. It was such a niche model in some respects that I didn't actually honestly believe that they would go to the expense of tooling up to produce what actually amounted to just a 3-strong class, and with only a handful of livery variants and principally operation just within the confines of Tinsley Yard. So I actually built my own, and you can see here I was quite pleased with the results, and we did a full video on that, and you'll have seen the Mega Gronk, as it became dubbed, trundling around Weir Yard, but not without a few issues. The slave unit is unpowered, and that does mean that this has the pulling power of a damp poppadom. However, Bachmann, it turned out, were not yanking our chains, and they really have delivered the Mega Gronk. All hail the Mega Gronk. Hashtag not a cult. So I really couldn't resist, and what I have to say is that I'm really pleased that Bachmann did 13003 as the tops numbered example, because the one I built I did 13002, and that means that hopefully these two will coexist in my fleet quite nicely. So I've got a pair of the new tooled Bachmann 08s. I want to compare some of the differences, but you guys all knew when this was announced that I would not hang around. And we've got a little bit of information on the Class 13s on the back. The boxes themselves are the same size as the larger loco boxes that Bachmann do, so it will fit in your storage. Designed in 1965, the 3 Class 13 diesel locomotives were built at Darlington Works using 6 donors of standard Class 08s. Numbered D4500 to D4502, they went to Tinsley. And the reason for these, why they wouldn't just use a bigger locomotive, was because otherwise they would ground out on the hump. So having a master and slave type locomotive under the control of one driver, they were actually the perfect thing to shunt that really quite intensive marshalling yard and get themselves over the hump without grounding. They actually lasted all the way through to, well, the final 2 withdrawn in 1985, and the last of these was cut up at Doncaster in 1986. And it is a shame in a way that, as far as I'm aware, 2 of these locomotives at least were withdrawn in fully functional order, and they just got cut up. Although that was the fate at the time of the contracting fleet that BR had of shunting locomotives. A lot of the vacuum-only 08s also had the same fate, withdrawn in fully functional condition and just broken up for scrap. Out of the box, we've got quite a lot of detail parts, and the little booklet that comes with these rather helpfully describes where all of these go. And I may well actually be looking to add some of these between the locomotives, though the blanking plates are a little bit of an oddity, because why would you fit the blanking plates if you then can't couple the 2 units together? And this is quite helpful. It shows you how all these go together. And these, of course, are all unique parts to the Class 13. We also get our rigid coupling. This matches actually, albeit without the electrical connection, those used on the Class 411 and 410 electrical multiple units. And I do wonder, given that, we've also got this jump lead here. And this is for the speakers, so that one sound decoder can actually operate both locomotives, just to, I suppose, keep the costs down for those going for the digital sound. But why they didn't just use the standard part that the 411s and 410s use, I'm not really quite sure on that. What's immediately apparent is the slave unit. You can see there, all freshly tooled up. We've got this a different cab assembly with the wasp stripes on the back and the deeper buffer beams here. These were actually made of quite thick plate steel, and the reason for this was to increase the tractive effort of these locomotives, so that extra low down weight front and back actually really did help to give these the grip that they needed. We've also got a few extra parts, so I can see up here there's an extra piece just on the side, and comparing the Class 13 Slave to the Standard Class 08, you can see that where that's just got a blanking plate, this has got an extra part on top. And just looking across the rest of this locomotive, it is interesting. We've actually got a broken handrail on there. That is a little bit of a disappointment. One of the areas that the Bachmann locomotives were a little bit prone to was damaged handrails, and it is a great shame on a model this expensive that we have got damaged handrails out of the box. That is quite a shame, but I can fix that. The handrails into the cab, those actually are metal, and you can see there we've got this blanked off control panel, the complete cab removed. Now, I heard a story that one of the reasons that this conversion was like this was simply because if it had had two functional cabs, the trade unions would have insisted on two crews. So by doing away with the cab and the controls, it could all be classed as a single locomotive and force the union to let that one drop. We've got the handbrake in there, and I do wonder, you can see this hatch on top of where the control desk would be, whether it was ever possible to drive the slave unit on its own when detached from the master. I suppose we never really know on that front, but certainly they did sometimes get separated, and there are photos of them in works visits having been separated apart. Now, one of the things that has been carried over from the 08 is those slightly thicker connecting rods. Now, we did flag that up in the review, and when you look to the Hornby versions, and I'm just going to bring in my Class 13, you can see that the actual donor units for these were Hornby models, and they've actually got that much more slender connecting rods, which was, for me, the big letdown of the new tooled Bachmann model. But of course, it's not been that long since these were released, and I am hoping that the next release they do address that, because apart from that, everything else did seem a really great upgrade. Looking across the rest of the model, and there doesn't seem to be much else that is different, aside from we have got an extra handrail up here at the front. You can see correctly we've got this much longer, much higher handrail up and above the shunter's steps. Sprung buffers, again, as per usual, and a little bit unusual. I have been looking at photographs of the real 13003, and it's a little bit hard to be absolutely certain that it had these red buffers, although pretty much all the liveries that I've seen are just grime over the top, so it's really hard to see whether the buffers are yellow, black or red underneath all of the filth. There's no real join between the new cab area and the old tooling on the model. I say old, it's only been through one production run of the 08, but that really is crisp and smooth, and certainly a lot better than anybody who's had their hand at making their own Class 13.
Here's one I made earlier.
This join just at the back of the bonnet is always the hard part, and you get that absolutely perfect on this model. Plus we've got separately fitted parts back here on the rear buffer beam, and we also get these lamp brackets as well, separately fitted metal items. Not quite sure why it would have those, because quite frankly the master and slave were generally always coupled together, but originally they were coupled cab to cab, but even then I don't see why the slave unit would have had those. But there's always quirks in the conversions carrying over from the fact that these were, once upon a time, actual full 08 locomotives. Looking to the master unit, again we've got those extra handrails going on at the front, the deeper buffer beams, and then looking to the back, we've got the deeper buffer beam there with the correct notches cut out, and then we've got this whistle that's actually mounted on the back of the cab. This is something which is not there on the 08. The 08 just has the one whistle to the front, but the Class 13 has them front and back of the cab, and I guess this is just to make sure that these were equally audible when going forwards as going backwards. The cabside numbers, we've got 13003 and the TOPS data plate. And yes, it is correctly printed out as class 13 rather than having the printing carry over from the class 08 or 09s that have already been produced. The body side boxes for the auxiliary equipment do appear to be correct. You can see for this locomotive, we've got a particular arrangement of these. Now, this did vary between different locomotives, and it is interesting that when you compare the slave to the master, we are lacking this box right here at the front. Now, my understanding is that these were converted from adjacent numbered 08s. So I'm assuming that they've got that completely right. That would be a big change to do to the tooling to then just ultimately get it wrong. So I'm going to say that Bachmann have very much got that right. But all in all, we've got a locomotive here which is about the same weight as the standard 08 and about the same weight between the master and the slave. Now, when it comes to connecting these together, first of all, I'm going to get the connecting bar across on the front of the master. It just goes in like any other NEM pocket, and get that on there ready. And then the slave, very, very carefully slide this into position, and they just click in as NEM pockets. Then really, strictly speaking, you only need this on the sound fitted models, but it's probably as good a place as any to actually store this cable. And they just connect in there, and it's a bit fiddly just here on this side as well. Again, not sure why they didn't use the pre-existing class 411, 410 connectors, which would have done away with the need for the separate wire. But then we can very carefully just turn this over, and we've got our fully connected up and running class 13. Now, in terms of electrical things going on, they're actually both independently motored locomotives. They haven't taken a motor out of one part of this. So we've got fully functioning 08 base in both, with the 5-pole motor, full drive to all wheels. And the way that they've chosen to do this is effectively you'll put 2 decoders in, one in each part, and it's exactly the same DCC fitting as for the 08 models. What we've got is a lift-off roof panel, and this just unclips, pulls out. The design on this, we've got 2 clips at the back, but the DCC fitting, this is super easy. Now, it's got a factory-fitted speaker. Whether it actually comes factory-fitted or not, which is really, really good. I think, that's the way ahead. You don't have to mess about trying to find where to put the speaker. As you can see, I've just taken the Plux 22 blanking plate out. I've got an AE decoder here that I already had in stock. Make sure these pins line up. I mean, it sounds like a silly thing to say, but you wouldn't believe the number of locos I've seen. People go, it's not working. And what they've actually done is done exactly what I've done there. This is the downside of Plux. Plux is super easy to actually plug it in wrong. There we go. And then all we need to do, make sure that's the right way around. I do like with this, you've got the lugs at one end and a lip at the other. So getting it the wrong way round is, well, I don't know, somebody will try and succeed and break it. But for us mere mortals who don't possess the strength of the Incredible Hulk and the temper attached to them, then actually it's super easy to get that the right way round, and then we're done and dusted. I'm just going to take the roof hatches off, and you can see I've already gone ahead and actually DCC fitted both of these. I've chosen to use the AE models ones, but because the onboard Stay Alive doesn't appear to work with other brands of decoders, I've also added in the AE models Tentacle Stay Alive, and yes, there is just enough room to squeeze that in, and it saves a lot of aggro trying to get the onboard Stay Alive to work with a non-ESU decoder. Now, it is a tight fit, but there we just hook the bonnet tops back in and then just click that into place, and then essentially you give them both the same DCC number. If you go down the sound route, You only need to put sound in the master unit and just a regular decoder in the slave. You will still need to match up the speeds that they run at, but essentially, if they're both the same locomotive ID number, they will both work in the same direction and at the same speed. Out of the box, on the DC test track, I did independently run each locomotive just to make sure all was well, and they were silky smooth out of the box. Bachmann does recommend a 30-minute running in for both the master and the slave, but actually I think that's belt and braces. These did perform really well. The lighting functions on this model all worked pretty well. We've got an assortment including shunting lights and also independent control for front and back. And if you want to get rid of things like the top lights, then there are switches internally to be able to do this, to represent the locomotive perhaps in one of its earlier periods of operation. The cab lights are really nice, just as they were on the 08, and all in all I thought that these were a really great model. With the DCC decoders fitted, it was a little bit apparent that one unit is running just slightly faster than the other. This really won't impact operationally, and if anything it will work to keep both your track and wheels clean, as there's ever so slight sliding going on. But this is something that is noticeable with the different rates that the rods move in, and you would need to go in to the CVs and start tinkering to be able to get them to run exactly at the same speed as each other. And this is something that some people might find a little bit of an irritant, but I'm quite happy with them as they are. On the layout, they did perform far better than my previous conversion job, and certainly were not hampered with the length of train they could pull. They are essentially 208s double heading, and the performance does reflect that, and I had no issues whatsoever with any of the trains that I tasked them with. They also got round the whole of the torture test track, again with no issues whatsoever. One thing that I would say is that the extra detailing parts that go between the master and the slave were incredibly frustrating and fiddly to fit. I had to drill out all of the holes in the buffer beams to actually get them to stand a chance of going in at all. I did this with my micro drill, and then this in turn did mean that I had to very carefully use super glue, as PVA just wouldn't cut it. There's not a lot of space in there, and you really have to have the master and the slave coupled together to do this, so it's not for the faint-hearted, but actually they don't look too bad without all of this in place. It has to be said, though, that there are a few points of concern that I want to raise. Some of the detail is too fragile for its own good. In particular, I had to replace the whistle on the back of the master cab. This is of scale thickness, and I believe it's made of metal, but in all honesty, it's to scale thickness. It just breaks as soon as you look at it. This also applies to some of the body's side handrails, and this is a disappointment carried over from the previous Bachmann tooling, where these were also fragile. The connecting rods too are slightly overscale, and this is something that you're going to keep on looking at, and when you compare it to the Hornby model, it is an area that I think that if Bachmann wanted to make something true to scale, it's these connecting rods that would have had the bigger impact, and I wouldn't have been too unhappy if the cab whistles on the master had been just a little bit thicker to give them some more inherent strength. Connecting up the cables between the master and slave was, as I said before, a difficult job, but it can be accomplished with great care, but I don't feel that most people would be too bothered omitting these out. On cost, well, take a deep breath. This was never going to be an inexpensive model. It is, after all, two locomotives in one, and there's a bunch of unique tooling that's gone into creating these that really is only applicable to three specific examples, principally in two different primary liveries, although 13002 did get its tops number while still in BR green, giving another livery option that Bachmann could look into doing. They have proven incredibly popular though, so the prices I'm about to quote aren't necessarily a barrier for those people that want this unique machine in their ready-to-run fleet. We're looking at a price of £339.96 for the basic DCC Ready Class 13, and that's on an RRP of £399.95. Sound fitted goes up to £458.96 at the affiliate links down below on an RRP of £539.96. Sound fitted deluxe, which essentially gets you the remote uncoupling function, takes the price up to, at the affiliate link, £484.46, and that's on an RRP of £569.95. It has to be said that if you're going to go for the sound fitted, you might as well spring for the sound fitted deluxe for what is essentially around £25 or so extra. It's probably well worth having, because better to have and not need than need and not have. When you compare that to the price of the Class 08 shunters singly, their RRP was £209.95, which I can find discounted down to £178.45. So it's technically slightly cheaper than buying two 08s, which is pretty much what you're getting here. So I'd say actually you're getting yourself a bargain with bespoke tooling for actually less than two 08s would cost together. So we turn now to the scores, and up on your screen you can see the individual categories that go together to give us a final score of 46.1. It really is a great effort from Bachmann, and when they retooled up their Class 08 shunters, I have to say it is a genius move to incorporate tooling options to make this really unusual master and slave locomotive. I think if they hadn't have bothered, most people would have probably just not really cared too much. Certainly would not have given them a hard time, but the fact that they did allow the tooling options to do this really does bode well for what they've got up their sleeve in the future. Now, anybody who says, well, there was only 3 examples and they mostly spent their entire life working in Tinsley Yard, so why would anybody want to buy these, clearly is a member of the fun police and should be shunned, because quite frankly I think a lot of people really would love to have the Class 13 in their fleet. In the grand scheme of things, it's a reasonable price when you compare it to their 08 model, and the fact that these are now pretty much sold out at Bachmann, and indeed at quite a few shops they've sold out their allocation, just shows that people like quirky, and I really am interested to see whether Bachmann do another run with some of the other options. I'm almost certain that 13002 in green with the tops number would be one of those being offered, and there are options for Bachmann to be able to make the most of the tooling, so I do look forward to future releases. All in all, I'm perfectly happy to have gone out and purchased one of these for my own fleet. It will take pride of place amongst all my other 08s, so all in all, this is a great effort from Bachmann to add to the ready-to-run stable another great and interesting class of shunting locomotives. So there you have it, the in-depth first look at the Class 13 from Bachmann. Is it any good? Well, simplistically, yes, it is. It's a really great model, and when I look closely at the tooling that they've used, that they've put together for this, you really can't see the joins. You can't see where the Class 13 specific parts fit in with the Class 08. It really is a superb model. Now, there are some downsides, and these are probably the same downsides that I flagged up with the Class 08 shunter. Those slightly chunky side rods did feel like a little bit of a backward step. After all, Hornby have been producing an 08 with much more slender side rods for a very, very long time, thus proving it was possible. And they went to all the effort for getting scale thickness for those whistles, only for them to be really prone at breaking. Why couldn't they have actually made the side rods really slender? I think that would have been an improvement that a lot of people could have got behind. But moving away from that, the rest of the model is absolutely superb. It's powerful, it's smooth, and there's an awful lot of DCC features as well. Factory fitted with speakers for every version of these models, sound fitting really is a doddle. We've got a Plux 22 socket under a really great and easy to access bonnet on top, and this bodes well for the future. Don't want to be messing about digging into locomotives, risking breaking so much just to DCC fit them. Bachmann are showing the way on this, and it really is a delight to put a decoder and even a stay alive into these. Now, strictly speaking, you shouldn't need to put a stay alive in. It does have an onboard stay alive, but they have chosen to tie it in with the ESU proprietary interface, which really does rankle a little bit. You can probably tell I like these things to just work out of the box, and I don't like to be told, well, why don't you buy our in-house decoder? I don't want to. I like choice, and it is a great shame that some manufacturers have chosen to go down this route. Please, please, please listen to your customers. You know, at the end of the day, you should put your customers first, and if they want to fit a decoder from AE Models or Zemo or Train-O-Matic or indeed any of the other hundreds of different brands that are out there, they shouldn't feel like they're being punished for doing that. You know, you've proven that you can get a stay alive in there, and this is my soapbox. I'm here, I'm on my soapbox. I have a small portable soapbox. I do take it with me to shows just in case, but really, please, 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 just this is one little thing to deal with. Right, deep breath. And it has to be said that they have left room that you can fit your own stay alive in. So it's not all lost, and the model is certainly improved by having one of those AE Models tentacle stay alives in there. And also, yeah, at the end of the day, there are other brands too that will fit into that space. So it's not the end of the world. The rest of the performance is great. You could tell in the video that the Master and the Slave did run at slightly different speeds, and that's exactly the same brand of decoder being put into them. So that's purely down to the locomotive. And the only way you could really fix that is fiddling with the CVs. It doesn't bother me. I know it would bother some people. You can fix it, just a little bit of legwork required. But overall, I felt that this is a great offering. And faced with the prospect of either no Class 13 or this Class 13, I am really quite glad that Bachmann took the time and effort, and it's certainly well worth getting. We've got an affiliate link down below, but they're proving very, very popular. So don't hang about or you will end up missing out. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below. What do you think about these Class 13s? Is this a must-have item, or are you giving them a miss? Now, I know that there's now 3 different manufacturers doing 08s, but I'll tell you now that I don't believe either of the other 2 are going to do a Class 13, so this is the only one in town. You won't be disappointed with it, I'll tell you that, but I would love to hear from you about your thoughts. Do leave a comment down below. Please like, share and subscribe. You can also find us over on Patreon if you want to help support the channel to keep making the videos that you want to see. And as always, Monday Club badges and the rest of the merchandise is available. A great way as well in this run up to Christmas to get yourself something unique, or indeed something for somebody you love who you know is into trains, or indeed even the Monday Club and such like. But until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying you take great care of yourself. Happy modelling. Bye for now. Today's video comes in association with Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Visit train-o-matic.com and see what they've got suitable for you. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model double O gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com and don't miss out on your latest loco.
I'd like to thank everybody over on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to our Patreon heroes. Without you guys over on Patreon, we really wouldn't be able to keep making the video content that you see on this channel. And don't forget that you can also head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk and check out the different tiers of rewards. Thank you so much. You are absolute legends.